Well, it seems like everyone is moving to Florida, but it can get expensive fast if you're looking at Tampa or Clearwater or one of those areas. And that's why we're seeing so many people consider Spring Hill, Florida, where it's more affordable, it's a little slower pace of life, and it's tucked right in the nature coast of Florida with a whole bunch of offerings for people. But Spring Hill is more than just a cheaper zip code. So today, I'm going to break down the things that you need to know before you pack your bags and move here. So settle in and let's get going. Now, like I said, there's a whole bunch of people looking to move to Florida at the moment, and it seems like Tampa Bay is one of the most popular areas. But when people see how expensive the homes are there, they start looking into some of the other suburbs. And we're seeing a lot of people consider Spring Hill, which arguably is not a suburb, but it is just a little further north of Tampa with great access. And that's no surprise. I did the same thing when I moved here in 2005. I really wanted to be close to Tampa, but when I could see what my money would buy in Spring Hill compared to there, it was an easy decision for me. And it's the same as a lot of the couples we work with. We recently worked with a couple who were relocating here from New Jersey, thought they wanted to be in Tampa, and so we showed them some of the suburbs immediately around there, and they were a little bit surprised and got a little bit of sticker shock when they saw some of the prices. And then when we showed them what the same amount of money could buy in Spring Hill, they decided to jump right on it. And now here they are in a home that's about twice the size for the same amount of money, and they've got the Weeki Wachee River right on their doorstep for kayaking. They're close to Hernando Beach, they can go out on the boats. And there's so much, like I said, right on their doorstep. They're really not missing a beat. So let's talk a little bit about what's pulling people like them into Spring Hill in 2025. Now, Spring Hill's certainly undergone a lot of changes in the 20 years I've been here. When I moved here in 2005, it was pretty much a sleepy hollow for retirees. But over the last, especially 10 years, I would say, we've seen a lot more younger families moving into the area. And we've also seen a lot of remote workers for people who want to work in Tampa but don't want to pay Tampa home prices, because we're situated just off of the Suncoast Parkway at exit 41, and it's really accessible to Tampa and especially to Tampa Airport. And there's a whole bunch of other reasons that makes it easy to see why people would want to move here, because for one, there's no state income tax in Florida, so that's super attractive. For two, we have palm trees for days around here, and we're close to not only the Gulf, but also we have the Weeki Wachee Springs, so there's beautiful water around for the water enthusiasts. And then over the last 20 years, we've seen a whole host of other stuff added as well. So again, when I moved here, there wasn't much to do for kids, and now our kids are constantly entertained as they add more and more options. So some really exciting things. But it's not just that Spring Hill is affordable, although it is one of the most affordable places in the whole Tampa Bay area. It's livable, it's lovable. I've loved being in this area for the last 20 years, and now it's growing in all of the right ways as well, which opens up a whole bunch of new construction options for people. And when you compare it to some of the places like Wesley Chapel or Odessa and Trinity, and then definitely West Chase and Tampa, the traffic is not an issue here. Whereas in some of those other areas, the traffic gets really bad. Every time I go over there, I'm having to allow more and more time to get to my destination. So plenty of reasons why people might choose it. Let's start taking a look at some of those in a little bit more detail. Now, if Spring Hill is starting to check off some of those boxes and sounds like somewhere you might want to consider, be sure to reach out to me. My team and I have been selling homes here for the last 20 years. We've helped over 2,000 families during that time, and we love working with folks like you on the YouTube channel. Don't tell anyone, you're my favorites. But you can reach out to us at the phone number below. You can set up a Zoom in the link that's in the description, or you can text us, email us. It really doesn't matter. And there are no stupid questions, as well as never a time that's too early to start looking into it. So we're here in the background until you need us, but don't hesitate to reach out if you have any questions. Now, what does Spring Hill look like on a day-to-day basis, you might ask? Well, there's a number of variations you could have of this, but how about this? You wake up on a weekend and just fancy doing some lazy kayaking down the springs or something like that. Or maybe take the boat out to the flats and take a picnic with you and hang out there and enjoy the sunshine and take a dip in the beautiful warm weathers of the Gulf. And then after that, why not head back into town and maybe take a little walk through the botanical gardens, or take the kids to the altitude trampoline park, or go-karting, or you can go antiques hunting as well. There's plenty of choices there. Check out some of the food trucks locally, and then in the evening, either go back out to Hernando Beach and enjoy Brian's, or in Spring Hill here, check out Nouvelle Cuisine, which is a French-Belgian restaurant, fine dining, which would hold up to anything in Tampa. Yep, all of that's right here in Spring Hill, and certainly, like I said, it's evolved over the last 20 years. And now if that's not your bag, you can find some of the walking trails, you can go play golf, there's plenty of activities to do, or just hang out in your backyard and enjoy your pool, why not? There's no need to leave the house if you don't want to. The pace of life here is pretty slow and relaxed, and that's what I'm used to in England. I grew up in the southwest where it's very rural, and definitely things were a little bit slower there. So if you want to get away from the hustle and bustle of Tampa or even Wesley Chapel, Spring Hill should definitely be on your radar. It's a place that kind of sneaks up on you a little bit. It's unexpected excellence. I would love to hear from you if you know the area, about what your favorite thing to do is. Leave a comment below, or if not, what's your lifestyle? Are you kind of barbecue backyard grillers, or are you waterfront babies, or do you enjoy sports, nature walks? Let me know in the comments below and I'll let you know some of the hotspots locally that might fit your needs. Now, one of the great things about Spring Hill is the diversity of housing. So we have really super affordable housing here, but we also have mega mansions and luxury high-end gated communities, and there's everything in between. So pretty much no matter what you're looking for, you're gonna be able to find it here. So whether it's the old favorite staples like Pristine Place or Sterling Hill, which are gated communities with HOAs that have great amenities, and they're also really close to the schools and the Suncoast Parkway for easy access to Tampa. So those are a couple of the most popular neighborhoods that we see as far as that goes. Then there's Caldera, which is the new build community out the back of Sterling Hill, where Homes by West Bay and Pulte are building, and they're offering fantastic incentives for buyers. Or maybe you want a little bit more land, maybe something like East Linden or Plantation Estates with half-acre lots and above, so you're not quite as on top of your neighbors and you can lay back and relax a little bit more. Maybe you want to live on a lagoon. Yep, we have our first lagoon community coming to the Spring Hill area up in Sandal Key, and that's scheduled to be completed by the third quarter of 2027. There's some gorgeous high-end gated communities, like I said, like Lake in the Woods or the Waters of Weeki Wachee, where you can get 5,000-6,000 square foot homes with their own private tennis courts in some cases. Anything that you're looking for is going to be available to you, and homes start from, I just sold a 2-bedroom, 2-bath pool home recently in a great area for $250,000, so it's not going to hurt the pocket or the budget much either. And one of the cool things is that as they add these new communities, they're adding cooler amenities to go along with it as well. So like I said, that lagoon community coming in where it's going to have Ultra-Fi, where the whole community is Wi-Fi, and a swim-up bar and stuff like that. Some of the communities are adding pickleball courts. Some of the communities have golf courses. Some of them now even have miles of walking trails and dog parks. So depending on what you're looking for, we're going to be able to find it for you and make sure we can try and get something within your budget. Be sure to reach out to us if you have any questions about any of the communities. So let's talk a little bit more about the market, because that's where people generally start when they're looking here. And at the moment, the Spring Hill housing market is really interestingly poised. So like I said, we have a lot of new construction, and you can find many move-in ready new construction homes for $350,000 or under. And that includes granite countertops, tile in all of the living areas, on fantastic lots, sometimes even in gated communities. And like I said, the builders are offering great incentives. So one that I saw this morning was they're offering a 3.99% interest rate and paying $20,000 towards closing costs. So the new builds are very competitive, and it seems like every time I drive into work, there's a new home going up on every single corner, so there's certainly no shortage of supply there. But also the resale market is becoming more competitive. We are in a slightly declining real estate market in Spring Hill and in the whole of Tampa Bay for that matter, where prices are going down ever so slightly. So the affordability is even increasing with time. But again, I just sold a gorgeous 2-bedroom, 2-bath pool home for $250,000. If you want to be in one of those gated communities, I have a 4-bedroom, 2-bath home that's only a couple of years old for $329,000. So plenty of options there. Now, the one thing to be aware of with the newer homes is that a lot of these new communities have CDD fees. That's a fee that's paid in your taxes that is additional to the HOA, Homeowners Association fee. So just make sure when you're budgeting that you're budgeting for all of the costs that may be involved, when you buy your new home here. And then also be sure to work out what's important to you. So do you want to be on the west side of Spring Hill, where you're a little bit closer to Hernando Beach and the Gulf over by US 19? Or do you want to be over on the east side, which is a little bit closer to the 589 toll road down to Tampa? It really depends on what you're looking for. Now, some of the areas over to the west are as close as 10 minutes from the open water. Some of the places to the east, you can be in Tampa Airport in as little as 35 minutes if you're on County Line Road and the 589 or Anderson Snow over in that direction. Now, there are some things that might surprise you when you're buying a home in Spring Hill, so let's make sure we get out ahead of those. Now, we've had customers that have moved into the area in the past and they've loved every single thing. And they've loved the homes, they've loved the area, and it seems like it's at an affordable price point. And then when they get their insurance quote, they get a little bit of a shock because the insurance here is going to be a little bit higher than most areas of the country. So depending on where you're coming from, you may not be used to homeowners insurance being quite so high. And that's because in Florida, obviously we're very susceptible to hurricanes, so we have a higher deductible for that. But also in the Spring Hill area, we do have a few more sinkholes than a lot of the surrounding areas. So there's a little bit of a premium attached to that as well. So that's not to scare you, that's to make sure that again, we're budgeting effectively and we can get out ahead of those things. And it's not that it's hugely more expensive than any of the surrounding suburbs, but there are, of course, quirks with every single area. And depending which part of the country you're coming from, you may not be quite used to paying so much in homeowners insurance policies. And then one other thing you want to be aware of if you're in this area of Florida is flood zones, of course, because we are close to the Gulf. So there are certain areas of Spring Hill that are in flood zones. Now, of course, we can help you with all of that stuff, and it's just something to keep in the back of your mind. It's nothing to worry about until it becomes an issue that you need to handle. And we've been doing it for 20 years. We have a lot of great vendors that we work with that can make sure they shop around and give you the best quotes for stuff like that. And then, of course, when you're dealing with builders, they use their own contracts. So they have this 40-page contract compared to a 13-page contract, which we know inside and out on the real estate side. But we've worked with most of the builders at this point, and we can help you navigate the fine print and make sure you're comfortable with everything because, again, the closing costs work slightly different with the builders than they would do on a general resale. So just all factors to consider, and that's why you should never try and do it alone and always take on the help of an experienced real estate professional. One final thing to mention is that the school zones seem to be quite often remapped and rezoned. So what is in a great school zone that you want to be in today may not be in the same school zone next year. And we've had this happen to customers over the years as well. So again, just a cautionary tale, there's nothing you can do about it, but these things don't stay the same forever. Now, what are some of the other mistakes or unexpected things that you might encounter? Well, we do have a lot of homeowners association communities here that have deed restrictions, like I mentioned before, and all of them are a little bit different, but they likely include some stuff that you might not be used to. So, for example, there's a number of the communities around here that don't allow fences, so be sure to make sure that if that's important to you, if you have little four-legged friends, that the community you're looking at allows fences. A lot of the communities don't allow moving trucks in there, or any vendors for that matter, on a Sunday. Many of the HOA deed restricted communities don't allow you to park on the road overnight. You have to park on the driveway. And then on top of that, many of them don't allow commercial vehicles to be parked on the driveway either. They would need to be parked in the garage. So a whole host of things that you might not be used to. Again, that's why we're here to help you navigate those. But those are some of the unexpected things that people encounter when they're moving here from other areas. And then of course there's rental restrictions in a lot of these communities. And that means there's not a whole host of short-term rental options. So if you're moving between places and you need a little stopgap place to hold you over for 30 or 60 days, you might find that a little bit difficult in Spring Hill, so make sure you're planning well in ahead and aware of those restrictions ahead of time. And of course, there's the old favorite where sometimes the utilities companies are not always the most efficient. And you want to make sure you're setting those up well in advance of closing because there's nothing quite like spending the first night in your new house without AC in Florida. Not very exciting at all. Again, we're always one step ahead of those things, but those are some of the most common mistakes that we see people make. And then the final one I'll mention is that if you're using a builder, or if you're buying a resale for that matter as well, as you get closer to the closing, there can always be last-minute unexpected delays that might push the closing back by a couple of days or even a couple of weeks in some cases, and that can cause real problems if you're not prepared for them. So it doesn't happen very often, but always be prepared for the worst and have a plan B in place. So guys, I hope you found that information useful. Nothing really catastrophic in there, right? But probably some stuff that you wouldn't consider necessarily when making a move. So Hopefully that gives you a much more rounded idea of some of the potential pitfalls and some of the mistakes that we see people making when they're moving to Spring Hill. Now, like I said, I've been here for 20 years and I've loved my time here. And even though some of those things are a little annoying, like I lived in a community where they wouldn't allow fences and had 3 dogs, a lot of those things can be overcome and a lot of them are not deal breakers. If they are, you just make sure you find the right community. But Spring Hill, I think, is a great choice for people looking for great access to Tampa with a little bit more affordability. And if you think it might be a great fit for you, like I said, be sure to reach out to us at the phone number below. You can call, text, email, set up a Zoom consult. I love doing those with you folks as well, so we can see each other face to face. There's no stupid questions, never a time that's too early to start looking at stuff, and we're low pressure. We're just here to help you make the best decision for yourselves. Now, if you want the inside scoop on communities, some of the pros and cons of living here, and some of the best new construction homes, be sure to check out the other videos on the channel. We love when people do that. But until next time, thank you for watching the channel, and we'd love to show you around town one day. I'm Ross Hardy from the Hardy team. It's time to love where you live.